My name is Rena Schondorf. When the war broke out, I was exactly 10 years old. I lived in Krakow, Poland, with my mother, my father, my older sister, and my grandmother. When the war ended, I was in the center of Germany, a small town of Salzwedel, where was the last camp where I was working. I was all the time with my mother, and my personal belief is, if I would not be with my mother, I would not be here, I would not have survived. What I do remember, and that's very little, that when we saw the gates open of the camp, and the American soldiers coming in, I could not understand it at first at all. To me, the very idea of walking out of there without the guards, without the Germans, without the dogs, was something I did not seem to comprehend. I was 15 years old, and I, being with my mother there, didn't go, didn't move, but fainted. The freedom was something it took a while to get adjusted to. Now you can laugh at it, or you can think it's very peculiar. The first thing that I wanted to have was a toothbrush, which I didn't have for a long time. I walked into a drugstore. I do speak German. I spoke German then as well. And I asked them for a toothbrush. And they very simply told me that if I don't have money, I can't get a toothbrush. That was my beginning to my freedom. We were transferred after, a couple of months to Magdeburg. The one thing was, the trip was not easy. First of all, we had no food, so we had to scrounge. Secondly, we were on a train with the Russian soldiers guarding us, and they did not particularly care what kind of a woman you were. So that was another bit of a problem. As much as I was grateful to them that they arrived afterwards, but I was not really a happy person to deal with them because it wasn't easy. We arrived to Krakow, Poland, late afternoon, and we arrived to the station to find out that the men that were working on the railroad there were saying a statement, "We are playing with the Jews tonight," which meant that there was a pogrom. Why? What? We had no clue. We had no money. We had nowhere to go. She said, "Is anybody alive? Is anybody where we can step into?" And he says, "Yes. My mother's cousin and her daughter-in-law and her son were in the apartment where they lived before the war." We walk up the 5 flights of stairs there, knock on the door. Somebody looks through the spy hole, doesn't want to open the door for us, doesn't recognize us. And finally only when my mother started calling her cousin, Rena, who has the same name after her grandmother, my great-grandmother, she said, "It's Ruth and Renusha, little Rena," so called. they opened the door but had it on a chain. And when they really saw that it was my mother and I, they opened the door and let us in. And we finally arrived in a house where we could stay, where we knew some people. And that was my entrance back to semi-normal life.